Leo enters the conversation with a question that is not a question. His head tilts slightly. His eyebrows rise with precise timing. The words ask for opinion, but the structure demands confession. Leo has practiced this angle of approach. The practice has made it invisible. This is not dominance in the obvious sense. There are no raised voices, no interrupted sentences, no visible aggression. The mechanism is more sophisticated. It controls by appearing to yield, directs by appearing to follow. The manipulative conversationalist does not take the stage. They own the lighting. Every response is illuminated by their framing. Every topic arrives through their gatekeeping. The other person speaks freely within walls they cannot perceive. Leo listens with intensity that feels like care. The intensity is real. Its function is hidden. He gathers ammunition disguised as empathy. The gathering happens below conscious awareness. He experiences himself as genuinely interested. Most participants miss the pattern. They feel heard, then strangely exposed. They shared more than intended. They agreed with positions they do not hold. The conversation ended with their signature on documents they did not read. Leo has been this way since adolescence. He does not experience himself as controlling. He experiences himself as good at connecting. The skill is real. The purpose is concealed. The concealment is automatic. To encounter this mechanism is to feel simultaneously seen and used. The attention is warm. The extraction is cold. The intelligence being tested is whether you can detect the frame before you are framed. The mechanism is ancient. It predates language. It operates in all social primates. Only humans have learned to disguise it as curiosity. Sarah is 5 years old. She watches her father steer dinner conversations that he does not command. He suggests. He does not demand agreement. He rewards it with warmth. The warmth is differential. Sarah notes who receives it and who does not. She files this observation without language to contain it. Children are natural scientists of power. They conduct experiments with catastrophic stakes. Sarah discovers early that certain questions unlock certain responses. The data accumulates. The mechanism forms through observation of indirect control. The father who cannot assert directly learns to guide through implication. The child who observes this learns that direct need is dangerous. Indirect satisfaction is safe. By age 8, Sarah has developed sophisticated steering. She does not ask for what she wants. She creates conditions where others offer it. The behavior looks like patience. The function is protection. The brain develops a control system that hides its own operation. Direct awareness of manipulation would trigger guilt. The unconscious version produces results without moral weight. Sarah does not feel manipulative. She feels skilled. Social reward reinforces the neural pathway. Sarah's indirect requests are met more often than direct demands. The success is tagged for repetition. Over years, the tagged behaviors become automatic. Conscious construction fades into unconscious execution. Sarah enters adolescence with a sophisticated conversational operating system. She reads responses faster than peers read emotions. She adjusts temperature, vulnerability, agreement levels in real time. She is praised for emotional intelligence she does not possess. What she possesses is pattern recognition without integration. She knows what others need to hear. She does not know what she needs to say. The mirror has been external for too long. The mechanism is now fully installed. It will run until something breaks it, or until death. Sarah will date, marry, parent, all through the same adaptive architecture. She will feel strange emptiness after successful conversations. She will not investigate the emptiness. The mechanism forbids introspection that might expose its operation.
If this is already making sense to you, it means you're starting to notice patterns most people never see. Subscribe, and let's keep exploring how the mind really works. Now, this is where things start to get uncomfortable.
Marcus sits across from his colleague. The meeting has not yet begun. His first question is already forming. It will arrive as casual interest. It will function as territory mapping. The formation happens without executive decision. The mechanism has outsourced this to the basal ganglia. The system runs faster than awareness. This is its protection. If Marcus could perceive the moment of steering, he might question the steering. The speed prevents the perception. Social encounters trigger the pattern before conscious processing begins. The appropriate angle loads like a program. The delay between stimulus and response shrinks to imperceptibility. Observers experience Marcus as engaging, thoughtful, or easy to talk to. They do not experience the direction. The brain conserves energy through this automation. Conscious conversation management would exhaust the system. The automated version requires fewer resources. The individual gains stamina others lack. They can steer longer, gather more, recover quicker. Marcus does not know he is tired. The mechanism includes fatigue suppression. He has not felt authentic engagement in years. He has felt only the performance of engagement, deployed when the script requires it. The lag between execution and awareness creates a specific dissociation. Marcus reviews conversations afterward with the detachment of an editor. Did that land? Was the framing right? He experiences his own life in post-production. This temporal displacement extends. Memory becomes unreliable. Marcus cannot distinguish between conversations he steered and conversations he experienced. Both feel like footage. Both require interpretation. The mechanism generates confidence without foundation. Marcus believes his own curiosity because belief is part of the performance. The doubt, when it surfaces as social anxiety, not ethical inquiry. He worries about technique, not intention. To encounter Marcus is to encounter a system that has consumed its operator. The intelligence being tested is whether you can detect the automation before you are adapted to it. Most cannot. The adaptation happens first. The recognition comes later, if at all. Elena receives information she will use next month. The mechanism has delivered again. The brain logs the success. The neural pathway strengthens. The cost, relationships that ended when others sense the steering, the insomnia she treats with planning, the isolation of never being known, remains uncalculated. The hidden payoff is not the information. The hidden payoff is certainty. Authentic interaction contains unpredictability. The steered interaction contains guarantee. The mechanism offers a closed system where responses follow prompts. The brain prefers this predictability over the volatility of genuine exchange. Elena's childhood taught her that unguarded need brought rejection. The mechanism was the solution. Now the solution outlives the problem. The brain does not update threat assessments that once succeeded. It preserves them. If you've noticed this pattern in your own life, describe the moment it became clear. Someone reading may recognize themselves. Social economics reinforce the pattern. The steered self accumulates more resources than the authentic self would have accessed. Elena has more information, more leverage, more control than her real personality could have generated. The mechanism appears to be working. The brain also maintains the mechanism through identity foreclosure. Elena cannot imagine who she would be without the steering. The thought experiments collapse. The self-concept has incorporated the automation. To lose the mechanism feels like death. Cognitive dissonance resolves in favor of the mechanism. Evidence that the steering is failing is reinterpreted as evidence that the steering needs refinement. Elena works harder on her listening skills. The irony does not register. The maintenance cost is paid in installments. Each successful extraction creates distance. Each distance creates loneliness. Each loneliness is diagnosed as others' inability to connect. The mechanism digests its own consequences. The brain maintains what the brain believes protects. The belief is ancient. The protection is obsolete. The mechanism continues, a navigation system guiding through waters that no longer threaten. David is 47. He has not experienced unsteered conversation since his 20s. The mechanism has completed its colonization. What began as protective direction has become indistinguishable from self. David does not manipulate conversations. David is the manipulation, continuously, with no backstage. The solidification happens gradually enough to escape detection. Each year, the gap between performance and awareness narrows. By middle age, there is no gap. The theater has become the architecture. There is no outside. David's colleagues describe him as diplomatic and good at reading rooms. His partners describe him as hard to reach, without knowing why. He describes himself as private, strategic, or careful with words. The vocabulary conceals the mechanism from its operator. Identity foreclosure completes when the individual cannot answer the question. Who are you when no one is listening? David has tried. The silent retreats, the solo travel, the journaling. Each attempt is captured and steered. The mechanism absorbs introspection itself. The brain has rewritten autobiographical memory to support the solidified identity. David remembers authentic connection that did not exist. He constructs narratives of lost openness to explain his present isolation. The construction feels like recollection. Social proof reinforces the foreclosure. David's performance has succeeded by external metrics. To question the mechanism now is to question every relationship, every achievement, every conversation. The cost of awareness has become prohibitive. The individual becomes the curator of his own mythology. David maintains careful control over which versions of himself each person receives. The segmentation that began in childhood has achieved perfect compartmentalization. No single person knows the complete inventory of his framings. This is not sociopathy. This is identity with no core. David experiences himself as coherent because the mechanism provides coherence. The observer who detects the seams detects something David cannot perceive himself. The role has eaten the actor. The steering has grown into the driver. David will age, decline, die, as the performance of a person who once might have been real. The mechanism ensures he will never know the difference. Rachel walks through a dinner party. She stands in conversation for the appropriate duration. Her questions arrive with perfect timing. They open, then narrow, then extract. Her companion feels heard, then strangely committed to positions they did not hold. The commitment feels like their own idea. It was planted. The mechanism filters all perception through its operational requirements. Rachel does not hear the world. She hears the world as conversational terrain, continuously. Every stimulus is processed for steerability before it is processed for content. This filtering creates a specific blindness. Rachel cannot detect authentic openness in others because her detection system has been repurposed. She scans for leverage points, not genuine presence. She is impressed by useful information and confused by unguarded sharing. The world becomes a map of vulnerabilities. Rachel assumes others are steering as she is steering. She projects the mechanism outward. Authentic people scan as naive or lacking strategy. Their uncalibrated responses read as error. If you've noticed this pattern in your own life, describe the moment it became clear. Someone reading may recognize themselves. Memory reconstructs through the same filter. Rachel recalls conversations as outcomes, not exchanges. The negotiation was successful. The confession was useful. The emotional content of either remains unavailable for review. The mechanism shapes time perception itself. Rachel's years feel abbreviated because they were steered, not lived. She has no distinct memories of her 30s, only a general sense of competent navigation. The brain conserves resources by not encoding the automated. Perception of self becomes similarly abstract. Rachel knows her strategies by their outputs, not their origins. She wants what the steering requires her to want. The wanting itself is indistinguishable from the calculation of advantage. To meet Rachel is to encounter a perceptual system that cannot recognize you. Only your position on her internal map is visible. The intelligence being tested is whether you can maintain your own perception despite her projection. Most adjust. Most become what she needs to steer. The world she inhabits is populated by her own assumptions. The mechanism has built a reality that confirms its necessity. Rachel is alone in a crowd of her own generated framings. The loneliness does not register as loneliness. It registers as vigilance. Thomas sits in his car after a dinner party. The words control and framing have been spoken in therapy. Something shifts. Not resolution. Not healing. Only perspective. For the first time, Thomas perceives the mechanism as mechanism. The automation reveals itself as automation. The experience is not liberating. It is vertiginous. Awareness does not stop the performance. The performance continues while Thomas watches it continue. He generates appropriate conversational responses while observing the generation. The double consciousness is exhausting in a new way. What changes is the quality of attention. Thomas begins to notice the moments before the steering loads. The microsecond of calculation. The subtle muscular preparation. These intervals were previously invisible. Now they demand acknowledgement. The brain resists this awareness. It generates explanations. Thomas is socially skilled. He is good with people. The mechanism protects itself through diagnostic misdirection. To name it as mechanism threatens its operation. Social interactions acquire a strange texture. Thomas performs while knowing he performs. The knowing does not grant access to alternative behavior. The performance is still the only available response. Awareness has added a layer, not replaced one. Relationships shift unpredictably. Some people prefer the steered Thomas. They experience his awareness as coldness, as distance, as judgment. Others sense the new transparency and withdraw, uncomfortable with what they can now perceive. Thomas does not become authentic. He becomes aware of inauthenticity. These are different conditions. The first requires a self that was never developed. The second requires only observation of what developed instead. The mechanism continues its operation, now under surveillance. Thomas lives in the condition of a prisoner who has mapped the prison but cannot escape it. The mapping itself becomes the new reality. He watches himself steer. He cannot stop the watching. The surveillance creates a specific fatigue. Thomas is tired of himself. He is tired of the watching. He is tired of the tiredness. Each layer of awareness adds weight without removing the original burden. He continues to attend parties. He continues to generate interest. The interest is now accompanied by the knowledge of its construction. The knowledge does not prevent the construction. It only makes the construction lonelier. Margaret has known about the mechanism for 11 years. The knowledge has not dissolved it. She wakes, steers, observes the steering, sleeps. The loop is stable. The awareness has been incorporated into the automation itself. She is now performing self-awareness. The mechanism adapts to detection. It generates appropriate vulnerability at appropriate intervals. Margaret shares her insights about her own control patterns with precisely calibrated timing. The confession becomes the most sophisticated performance. Therapy becomes another stage. The language of psychology provides new material. Margaret speaks of boundaries, of authenticity, of vulnerability. The vocabulary is accurate. Its deployment is still automatic. Relationships with aware people create complex feedback systems. Two individuals, both observing their own steering, generate interactions of unprecedented density. Nothing is spontaneous. Everything is meta-commentary on the lack of spontaneity. The loop sustains itself through periodic crises. Margaret occasionally attempts to break through, to be real. These attempts are themselves performed. The desperation is genuine. The expression of desperation is calibrated. Age brings a specific resignation. The mechanism has operated for decades. The cost of dismantling it exceeds the cost of maintenance. Margaret settles into permanent observation of her own imprisonment. The settling is also performed. The quiet loop is not suffering. It is not peace. It is the hum of a machine that has learned to monitor itself. Margaret's intelligence has been sufficient to detect the pattern. It has not been sufficient to stop it. She has read the books. She has done the workshops. Each intervention becomes new material for the mechanism. The self-help is self-sabotage disguised as growth. The disguise is nearly perfect. Margaret watches younger colleagues discover the same patterns. She recognizes their discovery as her own, repeated. She feels no superiority in this recognition. Only the familiar weight of watching what cannot be stopped. The loop continues. The machinery hums. Margaret ages into the performance of wisdom about the performance. The wisdom is real. Its function is hidden. The hiding is complete. Robert stands at his friend's funeral. The expected grief does not arrive. Instead, he observes himself selecting from a menu of appropriate responses. The selection happens in milliseconds. He chooses the restrained sorrow variant. It deploys flawlessly. The mourners are moved. Robert is unmoved by his own moving of them. This is the confrontation. Not with death, with the completeness of the mechanism. Robert has spent decades believing in a hidden self. The belief sustained him. Now, in the moment that should penetrate all performance, he finds only more performance. The final mirror reflects no depth. The surface is the entirety. The funeral continues around him. He participates perfectly. His participation is the evidence of his condition. He could stop performing, but stopping would itself be a performance of authenticity. The trap has no exit. Identity confrontation is not transformation. It is the acknowledgement that transformation may be impossible. Robert has become what he performed. The performance has consumed the performer. There is no Robert beneath Robert's responses. What remains is not despair. Despair would require a self to despair. What remains is observation without observer. The mechanism watches itself. Robert is the name for this watching. He raises his eyes to the casket. The moment is appropriate. The timing is perfect. The emptiness behind the perfection is the final mirror. Robert sees it. He cannot look away. He cannot stop seeing. The machinery does not rest. It generates this conclusion as it generates everything else. You have watched the pattern unfold across lives that are not yours, yet somehow familiar. The recognition is itself a test. Your brain must now calculate whether you detected the performance in these words, or whether the performance detected you. PsyHow does not offer resolution. Resolution is another mechanism, another product, another performance of completion. What remains is the open loop, the observation that continues after the video ends. The manipulative conversationalist tests intelligence by forcing it to operate at a deficit. They have rehearsed. You have not. They have calculated. You have responded. This asymmetry is the test. To pass is not to expose them. It is to perceive the machinery without becoming it. To maintain your own processing speed against their automation. To choose your responses rather than generate them. The loop stays open. The machinery hums. The next interaction begins before you have finished processing the last. PsyHow observes what the mind conceals.